Hi everyone. Now, I want you to imagine that you are at a crowded conference, and all day you've been hearing about how AI is consuming all the world's fresh water, how design thinking can help the military, who knew, and that we should be more intuitive as creative practitioners. I want you to think about those moments that you've enjoyed at the conference, meeting colleagues, new friends, having a snack or two. And as you go, of course, to enjoy the delightful food that we've been consuming all day, you think of the hundreds of hands you've shaken that day, and of all the door handles you may have touched. Hell, you might even have come in on public transport and have had the delight of exchanging fluids with lots and lots of other people. Now, I want you to imagine that has happened today. And I want you to think about the things that you have done today when faced with these exact same situations. Did you reach for the hand sanitizer before you took that bite? Oh, 1, 2, well done. 3 people out of 500, well done. Did you go to the bathroom and have a full soap and a full wash? Dig in there. A couple of others this side. More. Do you know I'm genuinely pleased by this? What was that, about 30%? About 30% in the room? 70%. What are you doing? Well, you're probably just doing this. Ah, well, what's it going to harm? I'll just stuff it in anyway. He's absolutely loving that burger. So what's happening here? Okay, so if we're looking at something like hand washing at a conference, we're looking at the same scenario, we're looking at the same behavior. I think it's really clear that it's actually not the same. There's variability just on something as simple as hand washing. And when we look at something like behavior, we tend to kind of err on the side of people do it or they don't do it. So they do wash their hands or they don't wash their hands. And I'm here to tell you today, as a behavior specialist, that this is not a useful way of thinking. In fact, it's kind of limiting what we're able to do when we're designing, whether that's understanding or whether that's kind of creating products and services, primarily because we kind of know this intuitively. There's a load more layers and variation just in simple behaviors, let alone some of the real complex things like the military are kind of presented to us as creative practitioners. So here's my question. If something as simple as hand washing is this complex, what does that mean for all the behaviors that we're designing in our products and our services and the things that we're putting out into the world? We need some way to capture complexity, almost at the point at which it's happening. We know behaviors are complex, but we now need some form of structure or some way to kind of bring order to the complexity. We need a tool, maybe a tool. You kind of knew it was going towards a tool because you said about tools in my introduction. But we need a tool that we can use as designers to just look deeper, almost at the moment at which it's happening, and to understand not just what users are doing, but why and how, almost at the point of when those behaviors are happening. And if we can do that, and we can bring that information into our products, boy, you're going to make such better products. We're able to then design more intuitively, more effectively, hello, bosses are happy, and also with more empathy. You know, we all design with empathy, and I think it's quite useful if you're looking at something like behavior to know that we can fulfill our desire to do that. So what is this tool? She's dangled a tool in front of my face. I love a tool. I love a framework. So what is it? I'm going to talk to you today about behavior traits. And they come up consistently in our work that we do at the agency. And if you come to my workshop, you know how passionate I am about behaviour traits. So here are the other ones that we didn't explore in the workshop. We can look at something called the trait wheel. Why a wheel? Well, it looks like a wheel, quite usefully. And we're able to use something like a trait wheel as almost like a behaviour profile. We're able to take a picture of the behaviour as it's happening and define it in terms of the key characteristics or the key traits so that we can make that richer picture of the behaviour in front of us. Picture of the behaviour. We're able to transition the way that we're thinking and the way that we're working from saying users do X towards users do, here is the distinct profile of the behaviour that we know at the touch point level or at the higher level if you're earlier in a project. You're able to capture that complexity, and if you capture it, you can use it. So let's just break this down. Let's introduce what we're looking at here. So, we've got reliability. I love reliability. Does it happen when we think it's going to happen, in the way we think it's going to happen, every single time? Wouldn't it be nice if people did that every single time? Turned up when they said they would? Wouldn't it be nice if the car started every time during winter? And effectively, when we're kind of working, we're always pushing towards making the behaviours as reliable as possible. In fact, it's one of our big metrics that we measure in all the projects we work on. Next, we've got ease. Also could be inferred as effort if you were at the previous talk. So ease is how easy or how difficult the behaviour is that we're asking of people. One of the laws of behaviour is if it's very easy to do, people are probably going to do it. So we can therefore look at capturing the characteristics of how easy that behaviour is, so then we're able to understand what we're asking of people in that moment. Next, we've got readiness. How willing and prepared are people to act? Notice, not motivation. So motivation is within readiness, but we're looking for other cues around motivation that we can determine whether people are ready or not ready to act. For example, are they prepared? Have they shown signs that they want to move towards that behaviour by doing other parallel things? Are they willing to? And again, we did a lot of this in the workshop, but this is our ethical kind of focus when we're working on projects. If they're not ready, leave them alone. Last but not least, value. So value is, why do people care? Why do people care about doing that behaviour? What's the perceived benefit? Are there any rewards that they can get from doing the behaviour? Are they avoiding something by doing the behaviour that they want to avoid? For example, are you hand washing because you don't want to get sick again? Because every time you go to a conference, you get sick. Where are my hand washers? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Avoid sickness. In fact, I've been doing little interviews all day about hand washing. Came up as the top one. I don't want to get sick. Okay. And there's one in the middle called impact. And this is where we shift from the behaviour lens to the organisation or the value lens. So this is where we're using this as a strategic assessment tool, and we're able to basically define how important that behaviour is to the project we're working on. There's no point using behaviour if you're not using it strategically. You need to think about what the value it is to the product goals and the organisational goals. So we're able to prioritise them at a distance. Because realistically, you're probably sometimes looking at 10 of these. So you can capture really quickly which direction to go and invest and develop further. This is actually what it looks like, if you take all the colour away. So what's happening here? Well, we've got scales, high to low, that's really useful. We've also got the traits around the outside, and impact sits in the middle. Oh, hand washing. Let's go back to hand washing. Do you know what I was thinking? You're all working professionals, and you're all UX designers or kind of associated with, correct? Yes. So I thought, why don't you do this with me? Let's do a behaviour trait analysis on hand washing at a conference. Up for it? Yeah, who said yeah? Oh, excellent. So one man over there. Any on the left? Okay. So let's split you up into studio teams. Right, you're group A. You have the distinct advantage that there are a lot of you. So effectively, what I want you to do is I need to warm you up, right? I need to warm you up. So what I want you to do after I count down to 1, so at 0, I want you to shout out to me, low. Good? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Low.
Excellent. See what anyone else has to work with? Louder than that is basically what you need to work with. Right, you're group B. I want you, after I count down to 0, to shout middle. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2. Middle. Excellent. We're getting louder. No pressure, everybody. Right, you're group C. I want you to shout at me hi. Hi. When I get to 0, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi. Excellent. Okay, and your studio D, you're at a disadvantage. I'm going to say this now, there's less of you than everywhere else, so you've got to double up the volume, okay? Okay, so I want you to shout at me low. 5, 4.
Low.
Excellent. See, now I know you can make noise. When I ask of you again, I know you can do it, so you're going to do it for me. So, Studio A, you're looking at reliability. So we're going to explore hand washing at a conference in relation to, does it happen when we expect it to happen every single time in exactly the same way? So let's kind of explore what reliability may or may not have looked at today. Here is the queue for the food. Here is the queue for the bathrooms. Okay? So do we think, within this context, that there's low reliability, middle reliability, or high reliability? What do we think, Studio A? Low. There we are. Preempted you this morning. I probably would have put this lower, actually, after I stood and just indiscriminately watched the lack of queue for the bathroom. And you know what? This is no different. You know, I said about 30%. Really interesting. The World Health Organization also says about 29-30% of people wash their hands before a takeaway or picnic. So actually, you're deferring to what the data says, which is really good to see, particularly when you're up here. Right, next, ease. Studio B, you're up. You ready? You need to think about how easy or difficult the behavior is. So hand washing at a conference. So here is the buffet from earlier. You'll see the multiple hands in the bread, digging in, nom, 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 nom. And what happens as soon as you take it? Straight in the mouth, right? So do we think the washing hands is easy or hard in this situation? They have access to toilets, yes, but it's on another floor. And there is no hand washing available on this station, including hand gel. So do we think it's low? Do we think it's high? So it's really, really easy? Or do we think it's somewhere in the middle? I kind of thinking so. This is quite nice, actually. So in the middle. Right, Studio C, you're up. Readiness. Remember, readiness was how willing users are to do that behavior. So how willing are they to wash their hands at a conference? Now, this is quite an interestingly difficult one for you, so well done for sitting in Studio C, primarily because if you ask people beforehand, hey, would you like to eat without washing your hands and just put all of that in your face, they'd be like, no, that's disgusting. Right? But remember, you're at a conference, and you're having a really good conversation with someone. You're kind of in the throngs of if I don't join the queue, then I'm not going to get any food, and we're going to run out of snacks, kind of thing. So you're very overwhelmed, and in the context of the conference. So at that exact moment, when food is before them, the queue is getting longer, and you're having a very good chat about UX kind of topics with your kind of new colleague or new friend, how willing are users to go and wash their hands? Are they low? Are they middle? Or are they high? What do we think? Low. I went with middle, but you know what? I actually think it's much lower. Because I did this 2 weeks ago, by the way. Submitted this talk. Good. So low readiness. Right. Hello, Studio D, you're up. Value. So basically, do people care about hand washing? So, I mean, you'd assume coming off COVID that we've all been taught quite religiously to wash our hands and be very, very aware of not washing hands for health reasons, right? But I know that hand washing has deferred back to pre-COVID levels. Okay, we've just sprung straight back. So do we think that people care in the moment they're about to eat about hand washing? Do they have that thought, I don't want to get sick right now? Okay? So do we think the value is low, middle, or high? Do they value hand washing or not? Oh. Great. I'm on the higher end too, so well done, everybody. Oh, look what we just did. We filled out a behaviour trait analysis. We did this together. Aren't you pleased? I'm making you work on your day off when you should have been out having fun. But remember, I also said that there was impact. So if we had the behaviour lens, we also now need to talk about really, how much does this behaviour contribute to the success of the organisation or the kind of project's goals? And I think it's fair to assume that given the fact that we're in a conference venue with lots of people, that they have a high interest in health and safety. Primarily because their worst case scenario is 3 days from now, it all coming out in the news that 500 people got sick at the conference. Yeah. So I'm going to give it top whack, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5. So in terms of the impact assessment of how important this behaviour is to focus on, it's now right at the top of the list. Okay, there it is, added them in. There's the behaviour trait analysis complete. And what can we learn from this? Oh, I've got a little pointer. Uh-oh. Oh, this totally worked before. Just pretend like I've got a pointer and I can point at things. So what can we learn from this? Basically, we now have a capture at a distance of what is happening in terms of the behaviour traits on the ground. We can also see really clearly what we need to work on to improve so we can get to the ideal behaviour state, which is the kind of line around the outside. So really, our priorities are reliability, readiness, a little bit value, and not so much ease, for example. So we're already now kind of able to use our project, our strategic, our intuitiveness as designers, to kind of create directions and possible solutions at the point of capturing a behavior. So what are we able to do when we're working on projects? If we have something like the characteristics of behavior, using something like the behavior trait wheel, we're able to fit it into pretty much any part of our design process. We're able to look at the artifacts we use, the processes we've designed, hell, even the data that you ask the user research team to go out and collect. So you're able to enrich all the touch points just by bringing behavior into the conversation really, really early. The earlier you bring it in, the better you are. So you're able to do things like build behavior-driven personas. Sometimes these can be called behavioral archetypes. Has anyone heard this term? Little nods. Give me a yell out. Yeah, behavioral archetypes. If you want to build behavioral archetypes, behavior trait wheels should probably be one of the core tools that you're kind of integrating within that new way of thinking about personas. So we're able to basically take either the things the client gives us or the things that we're developing on a project. So this was actually a customer profile that one of our clients gave to us. This is it. I've not done anything to it, including the AI-generated picture of what one of their customers looks like. And this was for a storytelling product over in Australia who basically were looking at the importance of capturing those stories before they're lost. So not just the older generation, but the younger generation too. So think about like Instagram and how short that kind of capture is, or TikTok, but if you elongated it to a 20-minute interview at the key milestones in your life. So you're able to collect the stories as they're happening. So this is what this client was trying to do. But again, I mean, if you look in terms of a customer profile, it's pretty predictable. And also it's quite static. It doesn't really show us really what's going on in terms of a behavioral level of why people share stories or why they don't share stories. So we're able to then kind of build the behavioral archetypes or the behavior-driven personas and deepen our understanding. So pulling the research into the kind of behavior trait wheel. There you are. If you want to read it, made it bigger for you. And you're able to make the 4 quadrants of that deeper analysis of behavior at the point of creating personas. And again, because you're making it into the behavior trait wheel, you're able to make it visual, which is super useful when you come to compare the different archetypes. Because you're able to very simply say things like, okay, well, which archetype do we prioritize first? How do we do that? We can look at the trait wheel because we've already done our assessment on the complexity of the behavior we're looking at. It's fun, isn't it? Okay, next. You're able to map behaviors at each touch point. And I think it's fair to say that all of us would like to do this better with all of the kind of products and services we're creating, to actually understand, almost sometimes at the point at which they're happening, the key touch points across a service or a product. And I'm telling you, you can use the behavior trait wheel to do that. So I'm going to tell you about a project we did with MyHabits, which is a bariatric surgery vaccine app. So bariatric surgery is often considered the last resort for people who have basically gone on a very long journey of trying to lose weight. And bariatric surgery is where you basically have an operation and your stomach is reduced to the size of an egg. So massive in terms of, obviously, the toll on the body, but also equally massive in terms of the amount of behavior change that is required around such a complex surgery. And in fact, the CEO, Katie, said to me, Lauren, our product is 70% behavior change and 30% surgery. So we need to get the behavior change right, because otherwise people revert. And because their stomach is no longer big enough, they have drastic health conditions afterwards because they're not able to get enough nutritious food in. So one of the priorities post-surgery is recalibrating your diet to prioritize high nutrition food so it can fit in that size of an egg. And also you're able to then make sure that you are healthy long-term. So the kitchen seems an obvious place to analyze as kind of a complex system of influence because people have the surgery and go home. And unfortunately, the system prior to surgery supported the unwanted behavior that now we need to change instantly. So you're able to then kind of assess, well, what are the key touch points within this system, the kitchen as a system? And we're able to identify lots, but for the sake of for ease at a conference, the fridge. So the role of the fridge is obviously to store the food that you go home with. So you're sent home with 2 weeks' worth of supply. The microwave, it's sent in boxes, so you're expected to then microwave to heat up your food. Recipes, retraining people how to think about nutrition, how to cook, and how to support their new nutrient-dense lifestyle. And effectively, what you're able to do by doing user research and also kind of doing ethnographic research, exploring how people interact in their kitchens, you're able to discover really useful information really quickly. So when you look at the fridge, value is quite high. Of course, they're post-surgery. They understand the benefits of having a high nutrition diet. We're looking also at readiness. They're also very much engaged and willing and getting very much prepared in order to do this new type of behavior. Reliability is about halfway. So sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't do it. It's a bit hit and miss. But ease is rock bottom. And it's rock bottom because, as you can appreciate, if you're sent home with 2 weeks' worth of prepared food in little boxes and you've got a fridge about yay big, you haven't got space to put all the food in the fridge. So it doesn't matter how big or important and successful the rest of their behaviors is, the fridge is going to stop them. So we can see by doing this trait analysis that actually that's a really obvious area to fix and to fix quickly. So even though they're a digital product, Katie now knows to explore partnerships with people who provide equipment. And the same problem with a microwave. Not everyone has a microwave, and yet you're expecting people to microwave their food. And the last thing they're going to do when they get out of surgery is to go buy a microwave. So now, as a service, you're able to preempt this and either partner with other companies or send them home with the things that they need. And also, you can start now assessing behaviors in real time. What did she just say? You're able to keep an eye on the data points for each of the traits within the different touch points of either a system or a context, and you're able to update it as it's happening. This is really useful, primarily because it gives us a really early signal that either things are changing and we need to address it really quickly, or, hey, things are starting to look up and they're looking really well, and we can pat ourselves on the back. If you are interested in this, I can share which data points, but it's like a whole other talk. And also, lastly, we can design with behavior in mind, and I think that's all what we really want to do. I think it's kind of core and absolutely central to UX designers, product designers, service designers. Keeping behavior top of mind is absolutely paramount. You can do that with the trait wheel. So why does it matter? Because behavior is complex. We know it's complex. Just look at hand washing at a conference. It's rarely binary, do or don't, yes or no. And if we want our designs to succeed, we have to capture that complexity, almost at the point at which it's happening. Now, I can hear you ask, but Lauren, how do I get such a tool? Take a picture of this slide. I will email you a template on Monday when I'm back in the office. I appreciate I'm potentially opening myself up to like 500 emails, but that's okay. I'm willing to play the game. So email me, and I'll send you the template, and it's got other kind of cheats and things to look out for, so then start using it. And with that, I'm done, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Here we have a gift for you.
Thank you.
And now, do we have any questions in the audience? Here in the front.
I was off.
With these last sentences, I felt like, oh my God, this is the key, how I can get my teenagers to help out with housework. Have you done it? And what are the results?
Do you know, one of the main things, this is always absolutely fascinating, when you go to a conference, or even when you're out and about, actually, and people know what you do, either their first response is, can you train my dog? Or, I have this thing that my child does. And it would be really good to kind of figure it out. And I'm telling you, yes, you can use it in both situations, because I have trained my dog with this. I don't have children myself, but I have primed the people around me to do this with children. Works better with toddlers than teenagers, as one can appreciate. But try it. Get back to me. Maybe we can make a case study of it. How to use behaviour traits with teenagers. All up for that. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Can we see some hands?
Yes, hi.
Yes.
Sorry if I missed it, but I was wondering, how do you exactly get those exact values on each of those, what were they, sections?
Yes.
Like, is it kind of interviews or mixed with observation? Because like estimating the ease of doing something might be quite different if you're asked and if you actually do it. Like, how do you get the exact value on the...
So we already collect a huge amount of data that's about behavior, but we don't really know how to use it sometimes. So you can use both qual and quant in order to do this. The reality is that actually there's about 3 subcategories within each trait that you have to then look for and kind of calibrate off against each other. So for example, like reliability is it's dependability, consistency, but also resilience. So if there's something in their way, do they come back and do it again? So like if they ran out of hand gel, do they find a way around that and find a bathroom to wash their hands? But you're able to then use the data within the products that you have to infer those kind of 3 subcategories, and then you're able to build that into what we're doing. Now, it's not the golden nugget. It's not like the golden solution. All we're doing is raising the awareness of behavior at each point so that we can have better conversations, we can make better design choices and decisions. And we can also assess the success of our projects afterwards. But most of the research we do is ethnographic because it's it seems to be the best one to kind of capture behavior. But that doesn't mean if you have a digital product, you can't use something like this, because click rate, for example, could easily kind of move into one of the traits or the others. If you're doing that, though, just make sure you follow up and test your assumptions, and you're not just like, well, it's the easiest thing to do in the world because they're clicking once. Because as we know, the context and the kind of quality of the conversation definitely changes the data point. But I think most of us are working on products with a lot of data, so that helps as well. There's a lot of AI use in our sector. I hope that helped. I hope that answered your question. Can't really see you because of the light. And okay, one more, any more? One more for any more? Should we just like go off and have a nice time?
We do have one question online.
Oh.
What's the coolest behavior change you have sparked using those tools you've made?
Coolest. Depends how you define cool.
Like maybe what you're proud of, or
I'm proud of. So we work on a load of different complex challenges. It tends to be the stuff that ends up at the agency is stuff that other design sectors haven't really fully fulfilled yet. So they're looking for another option. For me personally, it's probably the health stuff, because you're genuinely improving people's lives if you get it right, but also you're genuinely damaging people if you get it wrong. So actually there's a real importance. So something like My Habits, I mean, people who end up going through bariatric surgery, they've really tried everything, and actually it has a real significant kind of improvement in their quality of life going forward if you're able to get that right. But again, it's very complex and it's very hard. That's a good question. Thanks, online.
Ooh, another one popped up. Is this to an extent based or inspired on COM-B model of behavior change?
Good question, online. So COM-B is one of many, many kind of frameworks and models and applications you can use to apply to behavior change, typical to like BMAP, behavior change wheel, trans-theoretical model of change. They're all kind of turning up now. In terms of the traits, so the traits, how we've developed them, so they've kind of developed them over like 10 years. So it might have started by kind of pulling together, like smushing the zombie Frankenstein kind of model together. But actually at this point, it's more based on the kind of the experiences on the projects and then what we kind of value and where we go forward. So is it connected to COM-B? Tangentially, probably yes, but not in a way that I could be like draw you a map and be like, okay, so this bit it goes to here and this bit it goes to here. But what you tend to find, which is a good thing, that behavior change models generally end up having a consensus because they all pull from the same information, which is human beings, right? So actually, it tends to be, if you come across a behavior change project that feels weirdly not familiar, it's a sign that actually it's probably strayed too far away from the theory. It's a tip for you there, if you want to go into behavior change. And I can talk way more about that, but I want to have a beer in my hand to do that, if that's okay. So I think let's wrap up and...
Yes.
That's definitely what we'll do at the after party. Thank you again, Lauren.
And thank you so much for everyone joining us today here in Kultuurikatel and online on Elisa's stage.
Our 11 amazing, talented, and celebrated speakers have just shared with us their knowledge and experience. So let's have another round of applause for all of our speakers today.
Woo!
And now it is time to express our gratitude to our supporters, our sponsors, our team, and also announce the winners of this year's photo contest.
Huge thanks to the Estonian Academy of Arts, Tallinn University School of Digital Technologies, and Trinidad Wiseman for organizing the 16th World Usability Day Estonia, supporting, empowering user research and design community.
Thank you to our gold sponsors, Helmes and Elisa, our silver sponsors, Zone, and our supporters, Tallink Hotels, Fienta, Smiley, and the Estonian Design Center. Without you, Wood Estonia would not be as awesome.
Woo! Round of applause. Yes. And now the moment you've been waiting for, our photo contest winners.
So this year's limited edition Wood t-shirt goes to...
Nadezhda Svaikovsky.
Please go to the reception desk downstairs to collect your shirt. Now next year's Wood 25 workshop ticket to any workshop that this winner wants ticket goes to...
Martis Roosimaa.
Congratulations. And we are also giving out 3 tickets to next year's conference. So Wood 25 tickets go to...
Ethel Kõrven and Kristi Rummel-Kotisse and Mlada Vrameladova.
Congratulations to all the winners. We will be in touch with you. And thank you to everyone else who participated in the photo contest.
Yes, and if you were not one of the lucky winners, we still have a surprise for you. Next year's tickets to Wood has just gone on sale at wood.ee. So grab your ticket at super early bird price, because we would really love to see you there next year.
We've never done this before, so yes, you can already purchase your ticket for next year. But now, we would like to invite you all to the official after-party of World Usability Day Estonia. It is happening in La Copa in Telliskivi, where you can enjoy some free drinks in the beginning, a live DJ, and do some more networking. It takes just 5 minutes from here if you take the tram or bus to Baltiam and then walk for another 5 minutes. We are so excited to see you all there.
When leaving the venue, you can leave the lanyards to us, give it back, so we can use them again next year. But you can keep your name tag, and feel free to join us at the tram station.
So once again, thank you all so much for participating. See you again soon.